Seems like you got a little bit of a big project on your hands here.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna do
Well, we're
it.
gonna talk through it. We're gonna make a lot of progress on this call. We're gonna help map this whole thing out for you. Congratulations, by the way. 12
Thank you.
million bucks, right?
Yeah,
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Congrats.
I told you when we first started this, I said I was ready to close the
Mhm.
doors down. And then we got to talking, and the numbers y'all said, and I said I'll never forget. And I said I'll probably be one of the best clients you guys ever had.
Well, here we are, huh? Fast forward, what is it, 15 months?
You definitely made the most money. You definitely take the number one spot for that.
Well,
Yeah, you've
the
got
biggest
you've
thing
got
is
the
like people don't
spots.
know how to sell themselves is the biggest problem. They just
Hmm.
Yeah.
don't.
Hmm.
And sometimes you don't always have to be at the biggest number to make the profit. What's the smaller number you can make it at and still make
Hmm.
a pretty good profit?
Yeah. And I think my biggest takeaway from this is like if your potential buyers aren't taking you to a Luke Combs concert, you're definitely doing something wrong. So,
Yeah, it's well, and so I've always been like a numbers guy. Um I've always kind of been like on the estimation side. I've always been in equipment, I've always done it. So it's like I know what I can do.
mhm.
And so as I'm bidding all these jobs, I'm like, there was one month, or hell, there was like 3 months, we weren't really sell shit, And I'm like,
Hmm.
but hell, I'm not really too worried about it because, we knocked out all these other jobs in production and we were very lucrative.
Hmm.
And so we're rolling into winter months. I'm like freaking out because my goal in October was to have, what was it, 100? I think it was $160,000 in the bank to
Yeah, but
roll.
then you go and you blow it all on a machine, Anthony.
Fuck
That's
it.
what you did last time.
Hey, you're either going to make it or break it. And
Finance it. Don't pay all cash.
no. So I bought two.
But walk me through the process to getting this and what like the sales cycle on this looked like. Like, did you give out these bids in phases? Like, walk me through it from like start to like where we're at now.
Oh, like, so basically we started running the ads for the site prep.
Hmm.
And when we started running the ads for the site prep, he reached out to me and said, would you be interested in doing some house seats? I said, well,
Hmm.
certainly, And he said, well, I need like 12 of them a month. So I'm like, who are you? Like, that's not going to
Yeah,
be, you
yeah,
know what I mean? Like 12 of them a month. I mean, like, who are
yeah.
you? So
Yeah.
I didn't really hear from him for a little bit. And then we started running the pond or like advertisement.
Hmm.
And then he reached back out to me, and then that's when he scheduled the site visit for me to come out
Okay.
and look at the 40 house seats.
Hmm.
And he's like, look, this is what I got. I own this entire development, and I want to put 47 house seats in here and build 47 homes.
Hmm.
And so then I basically told him, like, look, I can do everything from the land clearing to the dry end, or I can do from the land clearing to doing all the full site prep. Um, and he was like, well, what do you think it would cost to move all this dirt? And I said, no materials. You buy just the um, air curtain, which is an air curtains for like an incinerator plant.
Hmm.
And we've got a burn ban, so we can't. There's no way you can burn 80 acre or that section would be like 30 acres. You can't burn 30 acres of trees. Like there's just no way. And he was like, "What do you think about doing a horizontal grinder?" And I said, "Your downtime on that is going to be probably high because you got a lot of money going into a machine that I've been quoted minimum to run is like $3,000 a day just in fuel." Said, me personally, I would buy the air curtain, burns up the wood, clean out the ash. You got some maintenance with that, of course, but it's going to be less than having to replace $30,000 in teeth $3,000 a day in fuel. And we just kept talking about it. And he just said, well, when could you start? And I said, well, the earliest I could probably start would be mid to end of May. I said, like, when are you looking to start? He said, well, I'm looking like May 15th. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you now that that's going to probably push my schedule. Like, I don't think I could do May 15th. But what I will do is I'll try to get started on some stuff in order to kind of get prepped for that. And so then I wrote up the contract, and it was like a generic contract. I was waiting on an attorney because something that large of a scale with that much money involved, I'm not just doing what I'd normally do for anybody else.
Sure.
So I waited for that to come in, and I typed up the contract, and he was like, look, I like you, dude. We're gonna have to do several contracts. There's no way that, we can just bundle all this together. So they're all broke out. Land clearing is one phase, the dirt is another phase. Each house seat is gonna be 12 house seats per month. And then from that point, of course, you're going to have other stuff that goes into that. Like the people are going to have to come in and do all the pipe and stuff. Like I don't have a UMC license or any of that stuff. I don't know how long it's going to take to get that. So that's kind of how like all started. I told him, I said, well, I need $100,000 down for me to even for me to know that you're serious enough that you want to do this. And he said, oh no, I need to get it done. I said, oh well, I mean I get that, but I need $100,000 to get started. And he said, well, when are you going to be able to start? And I said, well, we're going to try to aim for your May 15th goal. I said the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. I said, but I can start work over there, and at least we'll start cutting away on the dirt until I can get an incinerator plant. He said, oh yeah, I still got to buy that, right? And I said, yeah. I said, it's $260,000. You supply the incinerator plant. And so, of course, they're 6 weeks out on that. So, I mean, it doesn't matter that we can't start the land clearing because we'll have X amount of trees,
Did you
taken out.
already order it? Did you already order the machine? You already bought it?
Yeah.
Good.
According to him, I mean, I don't know his side of it. I don't ask for that, but I mean, the way I look at it is, I'm not starting until I got an incinerator plant. So with that being said, I was still kind of spectacled that he was even gonna really go with it. And then early last week, he called and was like, hey, I've got some concert tickets to Luke Combs, and I've got some extra ones. And since we're going to be partnering together to kind of get this development going, he said I'd really like to get together, invite you to the concert. Me, my wife, you can bring your wife, and we can get a couple of our investors together and other developers that were going to be in this segment. And he said, would you be interested? And I said, well, yeah. I said, well, let me check with my wife and make sure, she doesn't have any plans. And we ended up going to the concert. And then when we left the concert, he said, I'm ready to start. He said, I'm ready to go. So then, and he gave me a deposit, and he just told me, he said, we're kind of just really waiting on you guys. And I said, well, the thing is, I'm still hung up on some other jobs that I'm going to have to clean up before I can fully commit over here. And then I told him, I said, from the get-go, I've been telling him, I said, there's no way that I can stay 100% on this job all the time and not handle my small clients. And he looked at me and he was kind of like asking me like, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, if I get another, barn dominium company calls me and says, hey, I need this site prep done. I said, it typically takes me 2 days, and I was like, here's the thing is I'm making, $20,000-$30,000 in 2 days. And I'm not going to turn down the little guys because those are my bread and butter.
Mhm.
But ideally, like I need to have enough progress done on this job in order to be able to step out and say, hey, I can do this. And so he was like, oh, well, I'm okay with that. I don't want you to turn down any work, but at the same time, we need to make progress. And I said, well, in a perfect world, that works, right?
Mhm.
Um, and he said, well, like, what are you going to do, if, whether something happens? I said, here's a prime example. I'm still hung up on a land clearing job that was 3 acres. We've been hung on it for a month, just simply between weather, firing some guys, and it's just it is what it is. But I'm I'm a perfectionist when it comes to, I guess, land clearing. I don't,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
why we got where we're at,
Yeah. I would imagine. Yeah.
So I just told him, I said, you're gonna have obstacles in every way. And I said, it's just all in how we create a hurdle and just jump over them. And that's really the easiest part about it, is because there's nothing in the dirt world of side of things that you can ever screw up that you couldn't fix. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of fixing them. So I mean, that's kind of just where we left off, and he's just kind of waiting on me. But it didn't just get here because all these
We know.
buses just did whatever, you know. I mean, we had to bust our ass to get here. You guys and myself, and you know, thank you guys for pulling me out of the mud. You know,
Of course, man.
Absolutely.
That's why we do what we
Absolutely.
do. You know, that's our focal point. It's helping businesses like yours. So
yeah, it's definitely changed. I mean, looking forward, um, I don't know what the end results are going to look like as far as like my focal point on like what I'd like to be on an end sales. I mean, I would like to be in that 3.8 range. Can we make it? No, it's hell of a goal. You know what I mean?
well, I
Like,
tell you, that's also a math problem, and there's two variables they have to solve for. One, you need enough lead flow and enough job flow, and two, you need enough manpower to supply that work in time. If you solve those two things, there's no reason you can't hit it. You know, and
well,
we
and that's
thankfully
the
we can
thing
help
is
you with both.
I also don't want to grow too fast because at the
Yeah,
same time, we are still this small guy running out of the house. Let's
I
not
know.
lose focus on who we are.